Welcome.
Oh, mate, you're always welcome in the studio.
And we've got another guest. Rodger Smith, we were having a pod with Rodger, and we didn't get the chance to file it all down to the point. Rodger was kind enough to bring you a bottle of wine to convince us to get him back on.
I enjoyed it. It just happened to be a nice bottle of Craigie Range Sauvignon Blanc, so if anyone else wants to shout me a bottle of wine, that's my favourite.
If you want to get on the podcast, we've had a lot of requests. Now you know. What was the name of the brand?
Craigie Range.
Okay, because if it's anything other than that, no. Just leave it at the door and walk away.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Thanks,
right.
Bruce.
All right. Well, we got to start with shout-outs. Steve, what shout-outs do you have, my friend?
My shout-outs this week in particular has to be the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers last night game.
Huge.
I thought they were gone, and even the last second, the monster had a point blank. He could have won the game in regular time, and if you notice, he's got a lot of energy. The monster.
Who is the monster? Montrez Harrell?
Yeah, they call him the monster.
Show pony.
Yeah, but he had a lot of energy and showing off, and he missed that shot. And if you notice, he was a lot calmer in OT. He had his tail between his legs, and it was a very different persona in overtime.
Can I stop you mid-slur? Rodger, please, feel free to jump in at any time.
Yeah, Bruce interrupts on me
back.
all the time. So
Is it a pivot or is it just a pause?
It was an insult.
That's an insult.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But I got to agree with you, mate. I tell you what, the character of
I love
that
him.
team, and I was so happy for Roth was fired up afterwards.
Boy,
huge game that
He
was.
went off
Yeah.
after the game.
He did, and I thought, mate, don't bottle it in. Let us know. And but there's no quit in them.
But I love it. It's defend the island. I love how they're using that as their, that's their purpose.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing it for the people,
Yeah.
right? And that's when, I guess you maybe look at teams like Sydney. Are they doing it for the people? We'll get on to that later.
We'll get on to that later.
And without Magnay. Best shot blocker.
And McDonald.
And McDonald. Oh, mate.
Those are
That's
two
a big
huge
win.
pieces that they
So- So the shout-out's got to be, to some individual players in that Tasmanian team. So I thought Drummond was outstanding.
yeah, both ends of the floor.
Correct.
Who sent it to overtime?
Yeah, he was tough as hell, mate.
Steindl in the limited minutes he gets, mate. The effort is exceptional.
Yeah, and he's always a threat.
Now, can I give a shout out to one of our Brisbane Capital juniors?
Absolutely. I left
And
it for
Queensland under 20 team member, Nick Stoddard. So I got a little story, and I actually posted it up on Facebook, Meta, whatever they call that now, about how disappointed I was because I was looking after the senior teams that we lost Nick.
Yeah.
For 2 years in succession, in
Good
the
human.
22, 23 year, he got hurt both times. Blew out his shoulder and played 5 games. The next year, did his wrist, came back and qualified, played 7 games, I believe. Really wanted him. He can score at the NBL 1 level. He was on the bubble with he's in the Bullets, come and train and, that stuff.
Be chewed up at training and get
we need a body. And he made the decision to leave and got in with Ballarat. So he's playing at a much higher level of basketball at NBL 1 level. And he did well. And then he attracted the attention of Scott Roth, their coaching staff, brought him in as a development player. Obviously kept his ears pinned back and worked. Last night, it was just great to see. I'm so happy for the kid.
Not only did he hit 3 threes, but he took the first shot of the game, and he, it was a
With
good
confidence.
shot. Absolutely. But, he's defending Kendrick Davis, and Kendrick Davis is, for me, walking shoulder to shoulder with Bryce Cotton right now. You can start arguing Cotton's stats are for points per game slightly in front. I don't know what
That guy's good. He's very good.
but his assists, but Stoddard actually made him take several more dribbles than he would normally take to
Good
get
point.
it. And that's what I thought was really good in that opening quarter.
He's physically strong enough to do that too.
Well, the complaint from one of the Bullets coaches was he doesn't defend. He can't defend.
Well, he certainly did
And,
last night against
you know,
what I consider one of the toughest offensive threats currently in our league.
I got to agree, but it's not about. Not everybody's going to have Rodger Smith's foot speed
And length.
and length, but you can get in the right stance and the right position and make a guy work for it and earn it.
And guess what else you can do? You can sprint in both directions on the floor. That costs nothing.
No.
Have we looked through that roster that made that comment of who can defend?
Well, we're going to address that very shortly, but we're not anywhere near done with shout-outs.
Yeah, okay, keep going.
My other shout out, and it's an odd one. I think Taco. Was it Taco?
You say tomato, I say tomato.
okay.
We call the whole thing off.
You know what? That guy's making an impact. Like he's coming. The rest, he can't be blamed for the Breakers going downhill. But he had 28 points the other day. There's not a stat for shots that you
Disturb.
correct. There's no stat for that. And I think he's handled himself pretty well. He doesn't get involved with referees. He gets hammered. Like people they're virtually crawling off him to try to stop him get the ball. And I think he's got a place in this league. Yes, is he a bit of a...
Anomaly?
correct. But I like him in the league. So that's my
I
shout.
didn't agree with that hook that he got called on the other night. I thought that was a very poor call.
Well, we're going to have a little bit of discussion. You've kind of led us down this path now. There's been, again, on social media, on the NBL website, a little friction between the Jack Jumpers coach, Scott Roth, and Larry Kesselman. And I don't look at, it's not about favoritism, though some people are replying that that's what it is. Of course not. Why? And Chuck Harmison had a good reply to all this about why on earth would Larry show favoritism to one team over another when he owns the league?
Yeah, and hang on. He owns Sydney, so they're not actually getting, in my opinion, things going their way at the moment. So, correct? He owns a part owner of Sydney?
I don't know that. I know
I thought he was.
United.
Oh, no,
Tassie,
he's not
it's
an owner.
100%.
Well, and United have struggled their way. They're still competing because they're a fucking good team.
I think everybody's kind of misreading it. What the thing that Scott's Roth was saying, the officiating's inconsistent.
But guess what? It's inconsistent for everyone. I do not believe that any referee out there is going, I'm going to favour Brisbane over Cairns. Or
No, and I agree with that. No, none of them would. They're just not very good. They're
we just need that standard to improve. Like, and there's games that they're better. There's some games they're better, but they're not favouring anyone. I think that's a load of shit. I think.
Well, I think that's been bent. I don't think that was Scott Roth's. That wasn't his beef.
I think Scott Roth is smart. He does a great job of deflecting things away from his team. His team has got two major players out. He needs to take the heat off them, and they just came out last night and just fought and fought and fought.
They were down, 18 at one time?
18 points.
No quit in them.
No.
There is no, and Lyndon made a comment about, how we said there's going to be three teams. There's going to be one that overachieves.
Yes.
That looks to me, again, like Tasmania. There's going to be one that's been decimated by injuries. Well, you could say that's been Tasmania, right?
Brisbane probably have a
Brisbane
favourite.
has been definitely with the loss of Smack. And now, I saw where Tyrell Harrelson, he's out. He's got an
Delayed
injury.
concussion. That's unusual.
Delayed concussion.
Never heard of that.
Well, and there's going to be one team that implodes, and Lyndon asked our guest and friend Lyndon Briefy's asked, is this the team that implodes? I got to say yes. that they don't look like there's any joy in basketball. Moody looks like he's had it.
Even though he has stepped out since Cartwright has had their suspension, he's had a couple of half-decent games from Mooney. You can see he's trying a bit harder, but...
Well, Meninga looks like he just
Meninga's gone
checked
downhill.
in.
Across the board, they're lacking.
Yeah.
But what's
So not
good to
Taco's
see?
fault. Taco.
No, it's not Taco's fault, and I like seeing Sean Bairstow get more of a run. That kid's going to
Yeah.
have a great career, and it's good to see that he's getting more opportunities. Can we give another shout out?
Absolutely.
Shout out to Ashley Proud, the coach of the Brisbane Capitals under-18,
Go, Ashley.
who has won back-to-back. He was an assistant with your boy, Pat McInerney. That was a team and a half. And then won it last year. And then this year they're in the semifinals this morning against North Gold Coast. Ashley, Brisbane Capitals are so fortunate to have, that caliber of under-18 coach. So recognition. Last two shout-outs and then any others that you have.
No, I'm good.
To particularly those who follow the WNBL. Body Naj, his blog and his podcasts are exceptional. I highly recommend to our listeners to get on board. And the other one who we're going to have as a guest here soon is Dan Boyce from Aussie Hoopla podcast. Both of them great research, much like you and I, Steve, and very informative to the fan. But as far as the women's basketball goes, thank you, Body Naj.
Yeah,
It keeps us informed.
And we do have absolute intentions to bring some females as guests onto our show. Love some suggestions. We have some that we of ourselves. It's just a matter of finding. We haven't been very good with getting, because we have a selection like a Trevor Gleeson said, yes, I'm on. We just
John really wants to get on.
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
just,
Linda Briefy's here last week?
Who?
Linda Briefy's here last week?
Oh, Linda. We had Linda.
Yeah.
Linda was dressed in men's clothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. So now, Daily Mail.
So, well, we've already, when we're doing this podcast here on a Saturday, we've already had 2 games of round 16. That's what we're up to. United beating Sydney. I picked Sydney. I thought Sydney would really step up and win that game on their home court. But they had some controversy pre-game. American import flown in, makes it to Australia, gets worked out, not fit enough to play the game. Unbelievable. Now, you can't tell me, like, Gorge, he would have checked out.
And Billy, they would have done their due diligence, but obviously
The agent's bullshit.
The diligence wasn't due. And the agent, for sure, but
You'd never use that agent again. You'd never use him again.
No, but you don't just rely on an agent's thing. They would have dug in and spoke to every coach that's ever coached against him, who's coached him, players. You got to dig in. And I remember, and Rodger, do you recall the guy? I don't remember his name, but we got him out of the Big East. He came out. You watch the tape. You speak to the coaches. Rick Barnes.
Chris Monk.
Not Monk. It was he was a white guy, 6'8".
Oh, Greg. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember. But, boy, he was 25, 30 pounds heavier when he showed up.
And he obviously ate a fair bit of the food on the flight.
He was a nice guy, funny and everything, but at the end of the day, mate, you came out of shit.
Jokes.
I can only
Jokes
go
don't
on the
get
video.
points.
Not at all. And that did not win over his teammates. It didn't win over, the coaching staff about how do you get this heavy in this short a time.
But, I've tried to read, listen. I heard Gorge talk about it. I heard the CEO from Sydney talk about it. It's very unspecific. Gorge worked him out twice. he just wasn't ready to go at this level. I mean, the guy's played at a pretty serious level in the US. You know, in his college, he was at a great college. He was at Tennessee, I think, or something like that.
Well, the pedigree was, you know, you look at his bio, the pedigree's great. The fact that, look, we
I
mentioned
even
this
heard
earlier.
D. Rucker talk about him and saying, like, Ruck knows a lot of the players, yeah?
Yeah.
And he said, I was really looking forward to seeing this guy in the league. So
I know Brian was. I went and met with Billy and Brian and the coaches of Sydney after the Brisbane game, and he was so excited about getting this guy because he can move Adams off the ball.
Yeah.
Another guy that can score. He was over the moon. Can't wait, right? Well, that's fallen through.
So you can't tell me that didn't affect the team some way because they're all
it has
working
to.
out. Oh, where my, you know, the guy comes in, it's going to affect them. Not so much the bigs, but the guards' rotation is going to be changed.
Sean Bruce,
Yeah.
Leafa, those guys would be thinking, hey, well, we're not cutting
Well,
it.
I think Leafa hasn't given them what they thought they were going to get.
He brings defense, energy defensively. But we said this earlier in one of our earlier podcasts, to get a player out right now, like Hummer from Tassie, he was playing, I think, second division, not in the B League, but the league below that in Japan. He bounces around. He's serviceable. He plays hard. That's a good get.
Because they knew what they were getting, they knew what they recruited, and they're probably paying for what they recruited. And you know what? He helped them in that game yesterday. Because he got us some offensive boards. He hit a key three.
Yeah. Doesn't make his free throws.
Yeah, free throws he could probably do with some lessons. But we'll send him Lyndon's card.
The erector set.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, I mean, the guy Adams that the Bullets picked up,
Josh Adams,
Josh Adams, does not mind a shot.
ankle injury.
Ankle injury.
Yeah, he didn't play.
He didn't play.
He didn't play the game that they.
Did he get hurt in the game?
No, in training.
Training.
So what are you doing? Like you're going to get players that have either been cut, right? They didn't meet the needs of their team, and they let you
wonder
go.
why they're available.
Correct. Or they're recovering from some injury.
Well, that's how we got Prather.
Yeah, that's right.
He hadn't played for nearly 2 years, and I think we can give that guy a bit of shout out as well because holy moly, he
absolutely.
was fucking playing well.
Well, that was a long-term investment for the Bullets, and it's turned out really positive for them. He's tough as hell
he's
right
one
now.
of the elite.
And I think it just, I don't know the guy and his wife's commentating, but when you hear him talk and you get a little bit of feedback from out of the club, it sounds like he's a A-grade human as well. And that goes a long way when the best player, like he's now the best player in that team by a country fucking mile.
Yeah.
When the best player is not a dick,
Yep, I agree.
it helps.
Boy, there's a fair bit of profanity in that.
I just said fuck once.
And dick.
Well, we all have one.
We all have, yeah. Every team's
Like,
got.
why do
He meant Richard, Rodger.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of going off on it. But
Ten-
what
ten-
other Daily Mail do you have, son?
Well, just to finish on the Sydney, I'm concerned with Oliver and Adams. But boy, can Adams score? Yeah, he can do stuff. I would hate to play with the guy because he dribbles around, and then he goes in and he takes contact and holds it and gets fouls and puts it on. He can shoot threes, but he misses a layup in that game, and he turns to the referee and go, "Hey, I got fouled," and then walks back. And United, Delhi's pushing the ball and they get an uncontested friggin' layup at the other end. I mean, that must drive. And then there was a lot of talk about why he didn't get as many minutes as he normally would get in the fourth quarter. I think Gorge would secretly been inside fuming.
Oh, well, the Brisbane game, we all went to it. Did you go to the Brisbane game?
No.
Brisbane Sydney Kings?
No.
There was at least 6 possessions, defensive possessions, where Jalen Adams never got in position, much less a stance.
Yeah.
You can't have one possession like that. If you want to be contesting a championship. So Oliver's another one. Mate, he is aloof defensively, and Neuboy is the same. I mean,
He's
you
not as
can't
bad.
play those three guys at one time.
He's not as bad. You're right. Norboy can be a bit lazy, but
Aloof.
he's bringing more to them. Like if they didn't have him at the moment, they'd
Yeah,
be.
well, he's a scorer first, right? But he can play D. He just needs to apply himself a little bit in that area.
Correct.
And which is, uncharacteristic of a Gorgon team.
Well, you look
he
at
inherited
United.
the team, didn't he?
No.
Did he pick it all? I thought
Blood oath.
I thought it was already some of it was already done and
Well,
dusted.
some of them were already been on contract.
Yeah.
But,
So
Adams and Oliver were they were his picks.
Okay.
And, it's just,
And
I'm
I
sure
think-
they'll get it right, but there were two instances that I thought, I can't remember if it was the Adelaide game, came roaring back, much like they did against United, and they had a sideline out of bounds, and that, now you need a catch and shoot. Remember, we had Spurs.
Yeah.
We had Mills. We had things were specific to it's 3 seconds or less, it's catch and shoot.
And these are professional teams. They have time to install these things.
Now, how about defending the out of bounds with 3 seconds to play or 5 seconds to
Do
play?
you think you might switch a back pick?
Mate, I mentioned it to our chat group. You and I practiced that
Yeah.
almost every session once we got into season.
Yeah.
That, hey, both offensively, you got 2 seconds. Defensively, and this I don't see any teams doing this, that it's a dead ball.
Yeah.
It's dead. They can only pass it in. They can't shoot it. They can't dribble it.
Yeah.
Deny.
Yeah.
Switch everything.
Yeah.
Goulding sets a back pick, and it's wide open.
Yeah.
Jack White cat dunk. Like, wow.
Yeah. I
That's
just
your last
That's poor
defensive possession.
communication as well, though, from
And
the
mate,
defender.
And remember, if you switch the back pick, and especially so you stop an easy basket in the paint, right? So what you're potentially giving is someone receiving the ball outside the three-point line. That pass is a long pass, so it's in the air for longer than most. There's a lot of time for people to be closing out and at least make a guy shoot a three-pointer
Something
over
contested.
over 10 fingers, right? As opposed to a guy receiving it and getting a dunk. But I have been amazed. That's not the only club that I have seen give away a layup from a baseline out of bounds play this season.
At that level?
I'm just going,
Well,
what?
he was defending White, right? Standing straight up.
Straight
not
up.
ready,
But
getting ready for a
you'd
back
have to
pick
think,
because that's
mate,
their play.
Get in your denial stance and position. We're going to touch, switch everything.
Talk, see the
Talk.
ball on your player.
Correct.
These
Exactly. You're not
these
gonna
are
hug.
basics.
You're not going to hug in that situation. Goulding, he's the dangerous threat there, but it's got to be a switch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if your bigs can't guard a perimeter out of,
On a catch and shoot.
you better. I mean, all of you bigs out there, Rocco, Terrell, you have to be
But
able
the
to sit
defenders
down
could
and guard
also
that.
switch to suit that play better,
mate,
right?
correct.
Shoot a guard instead of a guard big.
Well,
there's
you could have
many
the big
things
on Goulding and the guard on the big.
Well, there you
on
go.
the perimeter.
That's what I'm saying. That is
just
called
the
a scout.
smart.
Yeah.
So you do that. So you switch. So you're back with the right
And
people.
it's not like that isn't a staple of the United's offense, with Goulding setting
I tell you
back
what.
picks on bigs to get his space and separation.
Adelaide ran a really nice sideline out of bounds to get the ball to Montreal just to equal the game. It was right on the full time. He got it right on
that
the low,
steal in the low post.
Low post.
Yeah, but he should never have been caught in that position. They should have made that lob over the other side. He got front position, right? He
Yeah,
should
but
never have got it.
Yeah, because I think they were worried about the shooters everywhere else, and he was going to set it up, screen,
And
or
then
something.
fouls him.
Yeah.
Far out.
It makes things a little difficult now for Adelaide, they needed that win.
I think Adelaide, I think they might implode from, they've got some volatile characters. Even though I don't think Kendrick's volatile. I mean, I don't think Vaseline played very well last night.
No.
Is that the wrong way
He's
of
always
saying
a threat, Basiljevic.
Do you
He's
find
always a
just
threat.
yeah. And I know he can. I've seen him shoot the lights out.
Shoots the lights out.
He's got a funny release, though.
Yeah, he does. But
He does
it's
not
down.
fully extend his
It's
arm.
effective.
He does not fully extend his arm.
Hey, can we pivot? Because I haven't done this yet. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Brian Curl Basketball,
absolutely.
who had another great camp. Over 80 kids showed up at the camp. I had a chance to come out and have a look at it. Best thing in basketball in Queensland, if not all of Australia. Also to our other sponsor, Chris Weir at FIT Education, both of you guys. Without your contributions, this just wouldn't be happening.
Hey, can you just talk a little bit around, we've had a couple of inquiries to say, what does sponsorship mean for us? Like, sure, we're getting a nice little body of people, communicating with us from all parts of Australia. And,
Well, I just want to give a shout out to this Matt Nelson, who wrote us a beautiful complimentary email today. And again, all of you, we love to hear your comments. It's violationsandinsults@gmail.com. But Matt is from your old stomping ground. He's a Shepparton lad.
Shepparton man. Good man.
Made some really nice comments. He really enjoys the podcast. He said after listening to us, this was the Lyndon Reefy's podcast, where Lyndon mentioned the whole thing about the possibility that he got that hypertrophic cardiomyopathy from COVID.
Yeah.
That he had a family member have the same. But anyway, he went back and looked at the '89 Giants. That really filled me with pride. The Giants Canberra Grand Final. Either way, and he inquires about sponsorship. But very nice. Thank you, Matt. It was we really we work better with enthusiasm and praise.
He likes to hear the old stories and talk about the current basketball.
But from the sponsorship point of view, like, we had no clue when we said, hey, we're going to do a podcast. We're very fortunate that we have Kyle Palmer, your son,
Yes.
who knows what he's doing.
He is the producer extraordinaire, but he's also the jack of all trades.
And gets the gear for us and kindly guides us around the park about some of our failures or things that we could do better.
Shout out to producer Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. But the equipment costs money. We had no idea of that.
Well, and here at the South City Square, the Steve McLeod Studios,
Fortunately, it's very quiet.
very quiet, and the price is right.
Yeah.
And everybody,
It's
why don't
called-
you guys do it on video and show? Because we don't want to show your messy kitchen.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that both of us and Rodger here today, we've got a fantastic head for radio.
Do we what?
So we don't need to be, but it just adds another level. So for people that have never done a podcast like us, we had no idea of the specific equipment that you needed, then we had no idea that you need someone to produce it. So thank you, HIT and Brian, for giving, and they gave us $500 each, and thank you very much.
Yeah, good on you. Okay. Now, we want to get back to why Rodger was asked to come on.
Sure.
Defensive specialist.
Absolutely.
Greyhound, I used to think. I would see Rodger play, I'd say, Greyhound. Anyway, we were talking about your, Rodger Smith's, top 5 defenders in this NBL season. Who would they be?
Yeah, I'm putting Hickey out of Illawarra, Mitch Norton, Cole, if he could stay out of foul trouble.
Who dat?
Keol for Sydney.
Sydney?
Was in Cairns last year. Kuol.
He's tough.
He hasn't
Dally.
been getting many minutes.
Yeah, well, in the rotation in Sydney, everyone's sort of talking about that rotation at the moment, aren't they?
Oh, you bagging him?
Talking about the rotation. Well,
Wow.
they're not winning right now.
Well, they're hot and cold.
Brian
They're
has
up
come
and down.
out after the game and said, I don't know if I like my starting 5. He's actually said that.
Okay, so you got Hickey, you got Nordo, you got Qual.
Magnay.
Great
pick.
call.
That's your 5.
There you
Qual, Magnay, Delhi, Norton, Hickey.
Yep.
No, Illy.
No.
Didn't make you 5.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, I agree with them. They're all great defensive players. And
You can
They're
go
worth
6
a
and
mention.
7. We'll
Well-
clear it. We'll clear that.
Let's
Like
talk a
Darren
bit more
Perry.
about it.
We'll clear that with Derek, right? Because, I mean, we went at 5. Derek might go to 14. But you got
7.
2 subs.
Just because it's a number.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, we'll throw Ali back in there then.
Okay.
okay, fantastic.
There's my 6.
What do you reckon it is when you watch those guys play? What do you think that makes them different to others?
I think they're into their defender a bit lower. They force over screens. They don't trail necessarily. They don't give up. Daly, if you watch Daly play, it's quite unusual. Well, it's quite impressive actually, because we used to play that lead hand and a dig hand, but he plays both hands out, and he sort of just.
I'm a massive fan.
He has lateral movement, which is very surprising for his stature. Right, he's quite a solid boy.
So watch him defending a guy dribbling the ball down the court, and he's got both his arms wide. It's his trail arm that's got his biceps got some contact with the player.
Yes.
So from the referee's perspective, his lead arm is not doing it. It's just there to deflect a pass or whatever.
Would it be safe to say he's low and wide?
He's low and wide. But even if he gets caught in the post on switching, he still fronts it, he pushes, he learns how to not let the post get their position, and he fights for the front position. All those guys don't stand behind.
Would you say that Delhi would be your runaway or favorite defensive player of the year?
Right now, yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, Delhi's up there. I mean,
He's just so solid.
But the other thing that he does, he then brings the ball down the floor. He is a
He invests a lot of energy.
Oh, I think it was you that said, it's hard to be the best defensive player and the best offensive player, because that's just a huge amount of energy.
Yeah.
But you can be an offensive player and a good defensive player. You don't have to be a great defensive player, correct?
Correct. You've got to understand it, right? Positioning is extremely important.
And what I like about, and you saw this yesterday in Tassie, they always plugged the ball carrier. The guy guarding the rebounder would get down to the level of the ball. Hummer was great at it. The other guy with a mouth full of consonants,
Kristovic.
Mate,
I said that confidently, didn't I?
Yeah. The position that he showed, that's a really well-disciplined, well-drilled defensive team.
But they do that. It was raised in the commentary that when they're down on man, like they're next man up, they even do that more.
Well, I got to be honest, and I don't want to sound critical.
Trying to change the momentum of the game. They know if they just go in back and forth with a team that's got more firepower, you ultimately lose. So you have to play chess. You have to, and they did. They threw it away a couple of times because of their pressure.
Well, Illawarra, right? Pressure baseline to baseline. Sometimes they press, sometimes they switch. They'll
play.
They're a very good defensive team.
They'll play a zone press, and then they'll play man to man when they trap, and they'll play a run and recover. I mean, a run and jump. They mix it.
Yeah, and they all fight just like the jack jumpers, right? All the players are fighting over screens. There's no cheating going under. They're working hard.
Offense.
That's right. And you want to make it
was
difficult,
our
right?
thing
You got
about-
24 seconds.
Make it as difficult as possible for the offense to execute, right? So, ball screen, we would fight over all of them. It's only a switch if I'm caught, and I'm the container, you're guarding this, we both call out switch. I'm on the top of the roller. I'm not a big fan of, what do they call it, mushing, or when you drive it away from the screen. There's a name for that. There's 60 names for that.
Yeah.
ISOing the screen.
Hasn't the basketball nomenclature? That's a big word for you.
It's a great word. That's word of the podcast, man.
Yeah. Do you want me to spell it?
No.
Okay.
Let's don't waste
But
Rodger's
that
time.
has it's grown over the years. Things that I like. We've learned things as coaches over the years, but there's still stuff coming out now that I go, I have never heard that been used before.
Yeah. But I mean, it make it as difficult as possible to set screens, cut off screens, certainly in the out of bounds situations.
You should not get scored on a layup in and out of bounds.
No.
That should not happen.
No. Okay, can we kind of pivot and drop step and ask Rodger, who played in what we like to think of the golden era, not the modern era, who would be your all-time, you can include guys from the modern era, but who would be your all-time 5 defenders?
Andrew Vlahoff,
Yeah,
Wow.
That's a good one. He's
Yeah,
on my honorable
absolutely.
mention.
Leonard Copeland.
Wow.
Mate,
You serious?
he is unusually. He got a lot of deflections. If you go back and watch, man, he's a scoring freak. But
Yeah.
You're right, though. He was a damn, and I don't have him down in my
Quick.
I think I got one of the record most quickest foul outs ever playing against Leonard Copeland. He taught me a lesson. I think I told him I blocked every one of your shots there, mate. You just got lucky, and the rest were looking after you.
Well, that happens.
Yes.
That happened in the golden era. Okay, so you got Blahoff, Copeland. You got 3 more picks. In fact, if you want to get some honorable mentions,
Damian Martin.
Damian
Damian
Martin.
Martin, good on you. He's in my honorable mention.
Just trying to think of one of the guys that
Hey, you
played
know
his
Rodger
whole.
Smith.
He played his entire career at Illawarra. He was like a 3-man.
I can picture him, can't put a name to it.
You know, the 2 young guys. One of them's been in their
You think it's
management.
Justin Withers?
No.
Nick Kelly had a kid.
Yeah,
At 6'6".
yeah. He was a good defender.
He was a very
Well,
good
he
defender.
can't be that good because you can't remember his name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
it just
you've
came
got
to me.
Blahoff,
I thought you
Copeland,
know
Martin.
Smitty because he was definitely that era.
Well, you know, if you think about it, Greg Fox was a great defender. When he came to Brisbane, come out of college, came to the Bullets, he was their number 1 go-to defender on every guard. And he played in those volleys, I think.
Yeah, well, he always had to pick up the best player.
Yeah.
Did you say he played in Dunlop Volleys?
I think Foxy did. Did he start that trend, or was that a Gold Coast thing?
Mate, I grew up on Dunlop volleys because I played on bitumen courts, and basically it's a car rubber under your feet, like it's a tyre. So it lasted a little bit longer than the soft rubber that was, at the time.
You guys didn't have Chuck Taylor?
No, never heard of Chuck Taylor.
Chuck Taylor Converse?
Converse.
Oh, well, we couldn't get
afford
them in Bundaberg, mate.
Oh, that's right.
Tomo was the only one wearing pullovers.
They
and
were actually made in Shepparton.
Sam McKinnon, he's got to be in there.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
You got one more, mate. Unless you've got some honor. Do you want to put Fox down as an honorable mention?
Honourable mention.
What, because you
I
go
don't
through
have-
the
I
you
don't
go
have
through
Fox even in
the you
there.
go through the Melbourne teams over the years, and they won some
Scott Fisher.
championship. Yeah, Scott Fisher. Yeah, honourable mention. But what about Warwick Giddy?
He did work his D.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is Rodger's pick, mate. You
I'm
kind of sell
just
it.
suggesting names. While
Who was his teammate that
I
was
can see
also...
From the sales background.
Roger's taking a big breaths over them, just
Yeah,
trying to
what's
help
the-
out.
what's
and
the-
not
staring
have
a hole in his
silent
shoes.
Pause. He's been put on the spot.
You know, White that played in Canberra. Dwight.
Simon Dwight. That's a good one.
Man, he was
Tough.
freaking
Quick
tough.
off the ground.
No, yeah.
Can I throw some names at you and just get
Please
your
do,
opinion?
because you're a...
So I picked mine when we got here. What we call it? We had in our production meeting. It sounds professional. I had Dave Simmons.
Tough hands.
Yep.
I had Sammy Mack.
Yep.
Tough
The only player. I mean, I'm waiting for this to ever happen again. Being the defensive player of the year and the most valuable player. Sam McDaniel did that in NBL 1 this year. It's
Okay.
pretty impressive. How about Daryl McDonald? D-Mac.
Yeah.
How about fabulous Phil Smythe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a lot of steals, a lot of deflections. And then I have Jason Smith.
Yeah, he was a good athlete.
Yes.
He's a bit of a Rodger Smith
All
type
those-
athlete.
Very similar. Very, very similar. And then I have as my honorable mention.
Could we do it like a Derek? Or can we do a top 14?
No, I go, I'm sorry, I'm only
No, he
going
does 15.
8. I have my 5, and then
Yeah.
these are my 3 honorable mentions. Rodger Smith.
I
Congratulations,
made your list.
Roger.
Thank you.
Pick your check up on the way out.
Yep.
Andrew Blauhoff,
Yes.
who you named, and Damian Martin.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, he was outstanding. He
I tell you, Mitch Norton's going to be up there in the all-time.
oh, totally.
He's got to be, if I could go to 9, but I don't want to do the extended list.
Well,
the
that just
Derek
made me
Rucker
think of
extended
something.
list.
Can we just have a little side pivot on the referee conversation?
Sure.
Because we could do that all day, every day, right?
Yes.
And we discussed that we would like to see the referee quality improve.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we were talking about involving ex-coaches, players, to be involved in their camps or where they learn to be referees, or
Yeah.
I don't know where they do that. But we were talking about, has a referee actually stood in the middle of a keyway while a 6'8" guy comes under at full speed, and you try to not somehow contort your body some way as this giant makes contact with you, right? And they will understand how you're there. I'm there first, but he just happens to have his knee around my teeth. So I've sort of turned my body slightly so I don't have my teeth in the back of my head. Have they ever tried to fight over a screen? Have they ever set a screen on players that are athletic and fast and moving and coming at you? Because you know some players go, okay, you're going to set a screen on me, we're going to make contact. And that contact isn't always, you know, you think about it, your nuts are close by as this low defender is trying to fight over the top of you. So it's just those things to actually feel it as a referee. And I know they're often, you know, they either had a career as a basketball referee or a jockey.
Well,
I know they were
I
their
know
options.
Nico Fernandez, the French guy.
Yeah.
So we had he and Michael Aylen, because they're both FIBA badge refs, go to the East Asia Super League when it was very first year it was played. And Nico was telling me the story how he got into refereeing. He was a player
Yeah.
who got reported in France. And what you do if you get reported, you have to do a referee's course, and you have to referee so many games. So we have a lot of penalty, and you know, like if you were in Queensland, you'd think we really have behavioral problems here with parents and coaches and players.
That's a
And
good rule.
it's gone to the. I mean, we look at it's not easy. We understand that, but it's not such a problem. And how about that? If you're going to report something, now they can come and they'll take your job refereeing.
Yeah, well,
And I think he's the
that's,
best ref in it today.
yeah, so
He and Mike,
I-
I still think Michael Aylen is one of the best.
Yeah, and look, I know I want to focus on the game. I don't want to focus. The best refereed game is when you don't even notice them. You know what I mean? And the players
exactly.
just play.
Exactly.
But it's hard at the moment because there's inconsistency. Like we have a lot of pick and roll situations. Middle pick and roll probably the most common in the game, and you know you'll see a player that move his hips and there's no call, and exactly the same thing the next play, and it's a foul, and it's a key moment. You know that consistency. We have to understand there is two bodies coming together. It's not a perfect.
Billy Mildenhall said this years ago, and when my behavior towards the referees was just appalling. But he said that any time,
Hence the name violations on this.
yes, there's the offensive player with the ball, the defender, and the basket all converge. That's when it's really hard to make the right, judgment call
on the contact.
And it's also the greatest, instant chance of contact.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they have to anticipate. They have to be in the right position. My thing that, and I had back in '88, I was doing this for Victoria, and because it was all initiated from Lindsay Gaze, that you can't have a body referees who evaluate and assess their performance themselves, right? Wouldn't you want feedback from a player, a coach, an ex-coach, a referee? So we put there was only three things. One is the comportment. Do the referees speak to you, the players and coaches, with the same level of respect and tone
they
of voice
want.
that they want, that
Yeah.
they demand.
Well,
And
they do demand, but we're not allowed to talk to them, right?
Well, they take the emotion out, and I think the good coaches know, Roth, Gorge, really, they ask questions. They just want to make sure that they got the rules understood. And then make the black and whites, the over and backs, the out of bounds. 3 seconds, we were told, and again, same Billy Mildenhall, but and the emphasis has changed since then. You remember Norman Taylor?
Yep.
Yeah.
What a load. He knew how to make position and hold
And
position.
you couldn't move him. He
Right.
needed a...
But we were saying, mate, how long does he get in the key? And Billy said, the count doesn't start till he gets the ball. I go, you're kidding.
Oh, my God.
I mean, just run down there and sit your butt right on the nose of the rim.
He'd have 40 a game.
That can't be right, mate. That cannot be the right. It's not in the spirit of the rules. And then, your judgment calls are last. And they're the hardest. But in the AFL, that's what they measure your performance based on your judgment calls.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting 85% of those correct, you go down and you're working in a lower league. We don't have the lower league to work at. But I would be looking at the same three things. That, how do you speak to me? Like if you're perfunctory and curt and a smart ass, and there's been referees who've done that.
Absolutely.
And, what does that do? That you're already emotionally charged. That
Yeah.
pisses off players
Yeah,
and
but
coaches.
there's also referees have a preconceived, like the player like Qual or whatever, that they're already up and in and aggressive in their defence, and that's okay. And if the guy holds them, or I'm up for it, but there's already some referees like, watch it. They'll make a comment to a player who's more aggressive than others. They wouldn't make the same comment to Adams,
No.
because you wouldn't have to worry about him being up and in.
No.
Right?
No.
So, but they would make the comment. Well, I'm not trying to figure. Anyway, I'm trying to be half glass full and half glass empty. There's continuous improvement. It'd be nice if they take on. I think they should take more opinions from players, coaches, because it's quite common now in pre-season. You'll get referees come referee NBL training sessions or NBL 1 training sessions, so that you go, okay, how are you interpreting this season?
But how many of those referees actually, integrate with the players and have communication? Which is what we said back when we were playing is one of the most important things, be able to have that interaction with the referee and asking a question without having a hand put up in front of you.
Don't talk to me.
But I think coaches, players, it's got to be a question on the rules, right? Because I need to know from you, am I teaching this correct? I think a big thing that would help is if it's Scott Butler, if it's Vaughn Mayberry, somebody that is this Reed, I can't remember his first name, but he's been around a long time. They got to go around, spend a little bit of money, and go to each team and spend a day on this year's FIBA, right? This is the points of emphasis,
But demonstrate it.
and demonstrate it.
Okay, let's put a pick and roll, middle pick and roll, and get the players to do it, and say, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And then they go, that's a foul. Why is that a foul? I'll explain it to you how we're going to call it this
But that's
year.
consistency, right? It
Correct.
changes every game. And, the beauty between the NBL and the AFL is we have reviews.
Yeah.
And then we still get it wrong, and we wonder, how did they come up with that in review? And Scott's one of the head review guys. Sometimes we question.
The whole review thing, I think, is a blight on the game. Because every time you get a review and you win, what is that? We don't want to do that to the refs.
Well, it just enables teams to keep questioning refs' calls.
Absolutely.
So
and same the combatants on the floor and us as viewers.
And
Which
I
is
guess-
the antics we were referring to when Adams missed that layup the other night. He's, hey, ref, what's happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've changed the
not the
notion
time
of
and
our
place.
players to keep asking questions and quickly do a review. You know how many guys play now, run to the sideline, swinging their hand around, do a review.
I don't know what the stats on it, but I guarantee you the players requesting a review would be...
They should be fined in their own
Mate,
team.
Like, if
I like that idea.
I like if I was a coach and I'd go, you get one review, per season? Well, because they just review.
Well,
people just spin their finger every
there's-
single time.
At the Bullets Sydney game, and I brought producer Kyle and his brother and our daughter-in-law, and I'm watching it, and it's a cast of thousands. There's no other coaching staff, 5 on the bench,
Yeah.
and then 3 behind the bench, and one guy who's Greg Vanderjack's assistant, like Matt, good guy, going to be a really good coach. He just watches for replays. So it's another resource you have to pay for or get a volunteer to do.
Yeah.
And it's every call. They're looking, is it a, should we,
So each call has a player's opinion, a replay opinion, and then the coach going yes or no.
Mate,
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing though when you watch some of these reviews and the players convince the coach to go,
mate.
and you go, mate, you fucking pushed him. It doesn't matter how hard the push is, you pushed him.
Here's the
you put
thing.
your arm on his arm. How can you be asking that to be reviewed? And you get away with half of them anyway.
Yeah.
Do you do? And I guess back to these referees, guess what? They make a mistake. Now, I want you to put your hand in the air as a coach and a player. Have you ever made a mistake?
blood oath? Of course.
Well, Bruce
So-
always,
so-
when we played, Bruce would always say, hey, mate, they're just like us. They make mistakes too. It's how we deal with that mistake,
so
right?
what I'm saying, let's stop having on TV demonstration every single foul call. Let's just get on and play, because 90% of the time it works, 50-50.
Well, I don't think it's a wise move from in this Hooley guy, the resident expert. They are questioning every call.
Yeah.
Our commentating teams.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have called. Oh, that was clearly a foul. This, and all that does is bring. Look, it's tough.
It is tough.
I, as a coach, am going to make 3 times the number of mistakes during the course of a game than my players.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to make tactical, strategic.
Wrong sub and everything.
But what I don't like that the NBA has, they do the review and they say, hey, we got it wrong. It was a foul here on this guy.
And they play it that way.
And then they're going to correct the entire play phase. Where I know it had happened to Sydney, they called a foul. Brian Gorgon contested it. They got it right, but it was still their ball. All you get is you get to keep your time out. He goes, well, you didn't correct it.
Yeah.
It ain't about correcting it. You know what I mean? It's just, we made a mistake. We're not correcting it.
I think they changed it this season that if I called a pushing foul, but it was a hands foul, it can still be like last year. If it was a pushing foul, and the guy, headbutted him. I'm sorry. We were contesting. He didn't push him. He headbutted him. It's the referee's got it right, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now if they acknowledge, it doesn't really matter if the referee calls a hold or a push. If it's still a foul, it's a foul.
Yeah.
Yeah. But look, let's focus on the players. Can we?
Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Have a look at all the point guards right now,
we'll bore
Stevie.
some of our clients.
Point guards, look at the defenders. They place a hand on their hips, just open hand, and they hold them. That's an instant foul. You can't do that.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
But we're playing that way right
You can't
now.
rest a hand on him. You can't put 2 hands back to the basket. You can't put 2 arm bars into him as soon as they face. And you got to drill this stuff. You got to condition it. But there's other things. So lock and trail. Can I keep a hand? Can I keep a wing on this guy as he goes on a turnout or a down screen? Because you don't want to give a guy like Goulding any space or Vasiljevic.
So if you want to get pedantic, they put 2 arms around those guys, shooters like Goulding.
Off the ball.
Yeah, off the ball.
There's a lot of holding there.
There's a lot of.
They're holding. It's a hold.
Isn't
If-
that
if-
an unfair advantage gained?
Yeah, but they let that go. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. But where in the rules of basketball does it say you're allowed to do that? There isn't. Anyway,
We need a 4th ref.
I want to talk about the games ahead in this series.
Okay.
And I want to talk about a shout out to the NBL, because I really am enjoying through this period of the year where we used to just have only cricket. It's Australian Open, tennis at the moment, but again, it's normally goes to late at night. It goes all day.
But Steve, can I interrupt? When you say cricket, are you talking about Test cricket or Big Bash League?
And that's when
Are you talking men or women?
Yeah, well, when I grew up, it used to be the Test series, and there used to be a one-day series between the Test team and one other country. And they used to play them in between the Test matches, and it actually meant something. There was a tournament, a one-on-one.
I remember the Shield.
Yeah, but I
Do they still do the Shield?
the what?
Sheffield Shield.
Sheffield Shield.
Yeah.
That's still on too.
I don't know. I just don't watch it.
I don't watch cricket that much.
But I love the Test match that just had India versus Australia. I love my Test match. I'm an old, classic style, but all this other shit means, and there's all these players getting paid a shitload of money. I don't even know who they are, whereas I know who the players are in the Test match.
We had at our Jeeps rugby lunch, Christmas lunch, Ian Healy was our guest speaker.
He's a great guy.
You've probably seen the photos of me and Ian Botham.
Yes.
I kept saying Botham, mate. What did they call Botham? What was his nickname? Doesn't matter. I said, will you quit bugging me? We'll have one selfie and then can we move on?
No, both of them.
Ian Botham.
Yeah,
But
that's what they called him.
Botham.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Healy, and I've met Ian before, and that's his
He's a big guy.
niece is the captain of our women's team, which I'm sure, Roger, I know you watch a lot of women's cricket. But because, it is competitive. And anyway, he was talking about the salaries these guys are making.
Oh, yeah.
Good God.
Mate,
They're making big bucks, man.
that's why they don't play Test cricket, because they're getting paid. And I guess because it's entertainment, they get
It's television rights, advertising.
It's the
Worldwide?
Yeah, because it's the biggest, one of the biggest games in the world, cricket.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Thanks
the
to-
evolution of all the sports. Even when we played, our salary cap per team, and if you look at today's, is drastically different.
Yeah.
Mate, they'll go play in that IPL tournament if you get a gig in that in India.
Oh, yeah.
They'll play, I think it's like a 6-8 week tournament. We're talking millions of dollars.
You talking cricket?
And they won't even be a Test player. There'll be just a guy that comes out and can hit 40 runs off 20 balls.
You should have
Yeah.
something in Bundaberg like chase the cane toads, hit them with your golf stick like
Well,
you
we've done
practiced
that.
many
Len
years
and I
ago.
were outstanding at
Did
that.
you guys ever knock over sleeping cows?
We didn't.
And then let sleeping cows lay?
But one time, I mean, this means nothing to anyone. I'm going to tell you guys anyway. There's one time, Tomo and I, and out the front, I lived on a fairly busy street, and the cars had rolled over the head of a brown snake, a big brown snake. They literally, this cat must have just had its head on the road, and the car's got it. And we see this snake on the side of the road. So we got this snake wrapping it around our legs because it's dead. But it looked real. And we're wrestling it on the side of the road and cars are stopping.
There's obviously not much to do in Bundy, huh? Jesus.
It's a great time in growing up in Bundy, man.
Well,
anyway,
now that we've driven a lot of listeners away, let's get into this round. And please.
Yeah. So we've already had two
Roger,
games.
Pick
So
your winners.
We've got Rodger here. Rodger's got to tell us who he thinks. So tonight, Saturday, this afternoon game, we've got Illawarra. So it always works this way, Rodger. The team that I say first is the home team.
Well, I've got my tips,
But-
so I know
Are
what
you
I've
a
tipped
punter?
this
Do you
week.
bet on games,
I'm
Roger?
telling you,
You can tell us
Illawarra-
now.
I'm at the bottom of the list. by the
Illawarra
way.
versus the Breakers.
I've got Illawarra.
Jeez, come on.
Southeast Melbourne versus the Bullets tonight.
Where?
Yeah, Phoenix. Phoenix.
It's Melbourne.
Phoenix. They're on the road.
I think they're
Bullets have got
playing in
5 games on
Gippsland.
the
They're
road.
playing in Traralgon.
You going Southeast?
Yep.
Tasmania tomorrow versus Perth.
Perth.
That's in Tassie-land.
Yep, it's an upset.
It'll be a dog fight, mate.
Yeah. Sunday, Sydney versus Cairns.
I put the Kings to bounce back.
On Monday, Breakers versus Melbourne.
Melbourne United.
Monday, Adelaide versus Illawarra.
Hawks.
Wow.
That would be back-to-back home losses for those
Adelaide.
36ers.
Yeah.
And that would just about
That's them gone.
Well, now they're behind. They're in 8th place.
They're struggling.
I mean, the Bullets still have an opportunity to
Sneak
get in
in.
there.
I don't think
But they got to
will.
rely on, Tassie to lose some games with all these injuries.
The
they
next
are.
5 games on the road for the Bullets, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this round's quite an interesting round. It goes
Very.
to Wednesday. Tuesday is Cairns versus Southeast Melbourne.
Phoenix.
And on Wednesday, Bullets versus Perth.
Perth.
Perth winning 2 on the road, and interesting.
Well, we got to give a shout out to the Perth Wildcats for coming to. They're going to have their shoot around at Brisbane Grammar School. We want to thank Dan George for setting that up, and Bill Ellis through Johnny Riley.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing John Riley.
Love Johnny, really.
Loved
Can't
him,
wait
man.
to see him. So all of us are going to catch up with him, which is a bit of a treat for us. 'Cause Johnny, as a junior out of Toowoomba and playing in the State League, has had some association to all of us, played for the Bullets,
Yeah.
champion guy.
Hall of Famer. He played for Australia.
He's friends of a whole bunch of American coaches that we're all friends with because he spent a long time in the US.
Yeah.
So I dropped that name again. Tommy Lloyd, head coach.
Yes.
He's just been recently named as the under-19 head coach for the USA.
Congratulations, Tommy Lloyd. That should have got a shout out, but I understand why it wouldn't. Oh.
And our good mate Paul Reese.
Reese.
Just one of the great humans. Shout out to his as he's one of his daughters playing professionally in England, and his second daughter is actually kicking butt, playing on somewhere on the west coast as well. I saw that she had a great game against Gonzaga the other day, and Reese was at Gonzaga watching his daughter play and sent us through a photo of Johnny really up on the wall.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think are we ready to tie this into a bow?
Yeah. Is there anything else that
Can I interrupt you?
Of course you do.
We
all
haven't
the
done
time.
one true pivot, have we? Have we done a pivot
Well,
yet?
we're going to pivot now because what a lot of our listeners aren't aware, unless they are at students or parents at St. Joseph's College, Gregory Terrace, which really all this, the whole Terrace legacy starts right here with my colleague, Steve McLeod.
Well, thank you, Bruce.
But what a lot of our listeners don't know, that Rodger's a very good coach
Absolutely.
who assists with the first with Matty Hamilton Smith.
Yep.
What can you give the listeners just a brief synopsis of your coaching experience?
Well, I was assistant coach with you at Southern Districts when the Siebel was on.
That's how I fish for compliments and some recognition. Yes.
So after the year you left, I became head coach for that group for 1 year, and then my wife said, "You've travelled enough with basketball. How about we give it up?" So I did 1 year of that. We got knocked out in the semis by Knox by 2 points.
They got us a couple times, man. Knox.
In the year I coached, they got me in the
Well, they got
semis.
us in the semis.
Yeah. So basically done a lot of rep coaching at Southern Districts. I did a little bit with you at BBI before then, and then I've spent the last 5-6 years, well actually in total probably 8 years at Gregory Terrace from
You
the
did
day
something for
Steve,
me. You did something for me like 30
way back when
years
Steve
ago.
started,
Back when it paid well. Are you because I know I asked you this off air, but do you see yourself going to do another year or two with Terrace?
I'd like to do another year. I like the program. I like hanging around kids who, you can pass on some wisdom, so look at things a little bit differently. They also remind me about the modern game, where the modern game's going to where I was, and everyone's a scorer, everyone's athletic, everyone thinks, but then we need to educate them along the way.
Well, mate, you got one kid, that Luke Anderson, played under 20s with us. He is special.
He's tough.
He is one guy, and we're going to be letting John know this because our guy, he's a BBI guy, but we don't have the force. So they always worry about this season. We need this. This kid, he's going into year 11.
Yep.
Athlete, unbelievable athlete, loves the game.
Two-man.
You got the other
Swing
big
guard.
kid that was at Morris. He's on the under 18. Harry. What's
Yes,
his
he's
last
coming across.
name? That's a big get. That's a really
Well,
good get. We
but-
recruited him when I was doing some stuff for Terrace, and
First time in 3 years we got someone over 6'1".
Well, he's
That's great.
6'9", and you know, getting better. You guys will love him. You'll be a big asset for him. But that's a great coup to get a recruit like that to come in. And I guess we got obviously the job that Matty Hamilton Smith and you do, and I got to give some props to. I'm sure he'll quit eventually, but to Harry Monty, you know, to make that recruiting. Sealing that thing up was big, because I know Grant, he was going to leave.
Pivot on that at the end.
What, did you want to interrupt?
There's a lot of good school programs out there. I thoroughly enjoy the Terrace program. You know, I've spent some time at Churchy. I know Villanova's got a nice program. So, you know, State High's always got a good program. It's a free school. You don't have to pay fees to go there, so it makes it a little bit easier.
It's a great thing. The school programs have just evolved over the last sort of 20 plus years. And
It's really a good. I like to see that.
Because they've got facilities, which helps.
That is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And, you know, just getting the old boys back into the programs. And, I mean, obviously this happens at the girls' schools as well.
The education from professional ex-players or current players involved in school basketball when we grew up was unheard of. So these kids are quite
they're
privileged.
exposed to people that have been around basketball a long time, and they and there's like, you know, Brett Susie at State High.
Been there donkey's years since I arrived.
Oh God, he's been there 30 plus years.
Yeah,
great guy. You know,
the job that
and Dave Bennett at BBC's been there a very, very long time.
Yeah,
Mick Scott's been at Nudge a long time, but he's just stepped down from that. You know, it is unbelievable time wise.
Anthony Petrie and Dennis Legassi.
Yeah.
It all started with
at those
Clacker
things.
down there, didn't it?
Clacker's got that program up and running,
Yeah,
but they've got a great facility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That thing is, I think Grammer's facility is.
And the schools
great.
have connections. They can get, you know, a boys' school can get it off the girls' school, so they can play extra games and all that sort of stuff, so they can get down to the E's and F's and all that sort of stuff. So, that's a you know, Rodger's coaching pedigree is, you know, you've been involved for a very long time, and I've always enjoyed having you with me coaching. You know, especially when you're demonstrating stuff, it helps to have someone who's got their head above the rim and can defend like crazy. So
I always would have Rodger demonstrate skill, take it down, dunk it in 3 dribbles. And if you kids can't do that, go play soccer.
Go play hockey.
Well,
Hey, this was a great session. I enjoyed this today.
It's been fun, more fun than normal.
Yeah, well, we'll tell Lyndon.
We'll tell Lyndon. And look, we got a slew of guests coming up. We're going to try to get the great journalist Wayne Hemming, better known as Ticker, in. We're going to get him on. We got Dan Boyce, who I sang his praises earlier. We got to get him on. We got to get Andrew Johnson. Andrew Parkinson has said he'll come on. We're going to do that on a Zoom.
I mean, Trevor Gleason has said we've just got to get better at using Zoom.
Correct. We're just going to record it,
working on
and
that.
We'll send that all down to Melbourne. By the way, Kyle will be leaving us on the 15th for
some
back
people
in March.
describe Bruce and I as a bit like Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets. So with technology, we're doing our best.
Amen.
Hey, Rodger, thank you so much. Give me a handful of knuckles.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Good on you.
Thanks, mate.